join me at Google Collaboratory. This is where we are going to build our linear regression model. You can find this just by going to the website colab.research.google.com. This will allow you to access an online code editor where you can code in Python. You can run Python files and you can run machine learning models and download them all online. So you don't have to download any code editor. Here, let's get started in a new Colab and in a new code cell. We are going to import the NumPy library as our first library. NumPy is a library used commonly in data science and machine learning because it has the NumPy array type, which allows for mathematical functions that are more complex than a regular Python array. Okay, we are going to create some arrays for our training data. So let's create train_x, a variable that uses the numpy.array function to instantiate a new list or array. And here let's put in some values like 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, just some sample values for our training. Now you could also use real data. You don't have to use dummy data, but the simplest approach for a beginner is to try out this project with dummy data like we're doing here. Okay, so this is going to create a list of the NumPy list type, known as a NumPy array. Let's do a similar thing for train y. So x is going to be our list of the independent values, and then the y is the list of dependent values. So we are going to use numpy.array again, and let's put in here a series of random values. We want there to be some kind of linear correlation because we are using a linear regression, so we can do a bit of linear correlation here from x to y. For example, let's say that our y should be about twice the x. Okay, then we can do that. We could put in 50. That would be a direct correlation of y equals 2x, so we can add some randomness by making those values not quite double, but similar to double. Right, so here I'm going to put in 154, then let's do 199. So not quite double, but close. Okay, so 299, and then we have here 175, and we'll do approximately twice of 175. So approximately 360. Okay, so there we go. We have our independent data and our dependent data for the linear regression. Next, we are going to create a model that uses linear regression and we'll feed it this data. So I'm going to import TensorFlow because we'll need that, and also from tensorflow.python.keras.models, I'm going to import the sequential model type. This is going to allow me to use this pre-made class, which is built by Keras, which is part of TensorFlow. And the sequential class is like a container for the layers of your model. Keras is a library very commonly used for machine learning. It initially was an independent library, but then TensorFlow actually integrated it. So Keras is now part of TensorFlow. So we are going to instantiate a new model. So I'm going to create a variable called model and instantiate an object from the sequential class. So you could also create all this from scratch, but it's much more common to use a library like Keras and TensorFlow. And these are open source, so if you want to see how the sequential class looks, then just go to the documentation for the class and you can see exactly how it was built. Now, as well, from tensorflow.python.keras.layers, I'm going to import the dense layer. A dense layer is a standard layer of densely connected neurons. It's a basic layer, so let's take the model and add to it our first layer. So we're just adding a layer to the model container. We're going to add a new dense layer. All right, then here, let's go ahead and put in some input size for the first layer, like 9. The input shape is going to be an array of 1 dimension, and we can add activation to our model. This is an activation function like ReLU. Now this is just an example of a model with a dense layer, and this is just a sample dense layer. You can use a different dense layer with a different input size and a different activation function, and you'll see that you'll get different results. Then let's add one more dense layer to the stack. This is going to be the output layer, so it will just produce 1 unit of output, and we'll have linear activation on it so that we're using linear regression. All right, so this is the final layer, so it's just going to produce 1 output. So the purpose of the model will be to learn from our X and Y data. So that way, if I give the model a new number, like for example 80, then the model will give me a prediction of what the Y should be for that input X, 80, and that will be based on the mathematical equation that the model put together to describe the relationship between X and Y. Okay, so we have our 2 layers, the 2 dense layers. Our next step will be to compile the model with a loss function. So that will be a loss metric, so the model knows how to calculate its accuracy at every training loop. So we're going to grab the model and call the compile function on the model. Here we're going to pass in a loss metric. For linear regression, you'll commonly see mean squared error being used as the loss metric. We can also add in an optimizer. So the optimizer is the function that's used to improve the model with each training loop, because the model begins with the first training loop, and initially its accuracy is going to be random. But then with each training loop, the model will get better and better thanks to this optimizer. A standard optimizer for a neural network is the Atom optimizer. You'll see that commonly used, so let's use that one. But just note that anytime you change any property of the model, you'll change the output and the accuracy. So you can test out your model with a different loss metric and a different optimizer function, and you'll see that you'll get slightly different results each time you change a property. You'll also just get slightly different results in general because the model always starts at a random place every time you restart training. As well, let's add in the metrics that we want to get. That is passed in as a list. We want to get mean squared error, MSE. That allows us to grab that as our result after each loop if we want to see the mean squared error at the end of each loop. Next, we are going to train the model. So to do that, we'll grab the model and call the fit function. We pass in our training data, train X and train Y. Then we pass in epochs, which is the number of loops that we want the model to take. So I could train this for 3 loops, which is very little. So the model will probably not train enough. I could train it for 30,000 loops, but that is probably too much. It will take too long, and it will likely lead to overfitting, where the model becomes way too precisely trained to my training data, and therefore it's not flexible to any new data. So you want to find a middle ground. For example, let's go around 1,000 loops. And feel free to experiment with a different number of loops. Just make sure that you restart the training from the very beginning if you want to have a set number of loops. You can try out 100 loops, 1,000 loops, 10,000 loops, and see how your accuracy is affected. Okay, so now we can run this code cell, and our model is going to be created. Our model will be fed the data, and our model will train for 1,000 loops. All right, so here we go. The training is quite fast because we have only 2 layers in the model. And as well, we're doing a linear regression on a very small amount of data. So because of those factors, our training is going to go quite quickly. If you have a lot of data, training can take a while. Great, so we finish at epoch 1000. And you can see we finish with a loss of 17,000 and a mean squared error of the same. And you can check out where we began if you scroll to the very top. So you just have to go to the very first epoch or somewhere there. You can see that we started with a loss of 54,000, but then the loss was brought down over time. So that shows me that the model is improving over time because the loss decreases over time. The loss is another word for error, or how inaccurate the model is. Awesome. Okay, that is good enough for now. Feel free to continue training the model if you want to improve this loss. So if you want to get it down further, you can. But make sure you don't overtrain, because if you have a loss of 0, then you've likely overtrained and your model won't be flexible. You can actually already test out the model by calling model.predict and then passing it a list of values. These are referred to the testing x values. So you can actually make a variable called test x and set it to a list of values you want to test. For example, 30. Let's just try testing out 30. Then we can also wrap this in a print function to print our results. If we run this, you'll see our results. We get a value of about 26.78. Let's say we try this with a different number like 100. We can rerun, and this time we get about 86. Okay, so we know that the model is not that accurate because we are expecting something around 200 for x of 100, because we have approximately a correlation where y equals 2x. Let's train the model on 2000 epochs and see if that increases our accuracy. So I'm going to rerun training, this time on double the epochs. And note that you can see here, every time you run training, your loss will start at a slightly random or different place, because initially the model structure, the model weights and biases, which are the parts of the model's equation, they start off random each time. So that's why you get different results each time. So sometimes it can help just to run the training from scratch again, because you can get completely different results without even changing anything. And every time you do change something like the number of epochs, the amount of data, or the model structure, you'll also get different results. So this time we can see our loss has gone down to about 27. That's a lot less than 17,000. So that tells me our model trained better this time. So if I rerun my prediction, look here, now we get a result of 202, and that is a lot closer to what I expected. Because remember, we have a relationship of approximately y equals 2x. So if I try this on 10, then I get approximately 22. Okay, that tells me we have a model that is working as expected, because the data that we built has a relationship of y equals 2x approximately. So that's what I wanted my model to be able to predict. Because I didn't tell the model that y equals 2x, I just gave the model the data, and then the model had to figure that out on its own. And then I performed the test to see, did the model figure it out? And it looks like, yes, the model has figured it out after training a couple times. One time 1,000 epochs, and then restarting with 2,000 epochs, and that proved to be a good decision. Pledge to our Kickstarter, the Complete 22 Web Development and Machine Learning Bundle, which also has a lot of app development content. And it is live now, link in description.